sometimes I'll have students in class that have glasses on, and I'll say, do those glasses help you see? And they'll say, yeah, they really do. And I'll say, well, if one pair of glasses helps you see, let's put like a couple more pairs of glasses on, then you'll see better, right? And then they say, no, more glasses does not help you see better. What this system does is it gives you one set of glasses that's so fine-tuned and so able to see better that it helps you in clinic. And so why this system over any other system is because it can be a bit daunting. And something like this program and this system is like your compass through the classics, right? So doing classes with ICEAM is going to kind of like give you a map, right? Through the streets of the Taiyang, the boulevards of Yangming, broadways of Shaoyang, the back alleys of Taiyin, storefronts of Shaoyin or whatever. It's really going to give you a map through it. And then the back seedy weird alleys of the Jingwei Yalwei, The glasses that you're going to see this through is the vision of the pulse.
Yep.
Right. So it gives you a diagnostic tool. Yeah. But my biggest problem with TCM is that it's not a system. It's a system of systems.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Chinese Medicine Podcast. So happy to have you here today. And it's my pleasure today to be interviewing Collin Campbell all the way from the USA. And we're going to be talking about classical Chinese medicine and the one of the passions that I mentioned on this channel quite a lot. And I've got lots of subscribers that always have questions about, well, where do I study it and how do I go about it? And like, what's the difference between this style of classical Chinese medicine and other styles of classical Chinese medicine? Maybe what's the difference between traditional Chinese medicine and classical Chinese medicine? If you're a student of TCM and you're thinking, oh, I'm not really sure what I should be doing with my specializations in the field, and you're not sure where you could get further study, we're probably going to answer all your questions and hopefully your dreams will come true today. So without any further ado, here's Collin.
Well, it's 7 o'clock in the morning over here in the United States. And so I woke up bright and early to help TCM people's dreams come true, I guess.
Yes, you have. It's 8 p.m. for me, so we're on the other side of the world. It's a 40-degree day for me today, actually, in Perth, and I had to turn my aircon off to do this. So if I'm dripping in sweat, that's why.
The opposite's over here. I have my coat on. It's pretty cold.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Collin, you are not just a person who studied with Arnaud Versylus, but you've become a fellow of his system of Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell some of the listeners about what that is, because it's a really in-depth process that people go through to be able to do that. And, there's probably more than thousands and thousands of hours that you've put in to studying this, right?
I've been doing this for a little bit over a decade. I have only and always done ICEAM or canonical medicine. One of my things that I'm so proud to say is I've never written Shaiyaosan.
Oh wow!
I've never actually given it to anybody, so I'm really happy about that. But your question is, I'm a fellow in canonical Chinese medicine in Arnaud Versylus' system. Where to begin is I did the entire system, the entire series, the Shanghan Lun, the Jingwei Yaowei. I've done advanced seminars with formula follow-ups, which is a really interesting topic in and of itself. Always blows my mind. And then I saw, I've seen over 1,000 patients with my teacher, and then in addition, wrote up some case studies of the cases I've seen. But it is it's going to sound funny to say this. It's like a lifestyle. It's the way I practice. But when you just ask me that question, how many hours I've put in, I wouldn't even know. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. My first wife, I used to study on vacation, and I used to piss her off all the time.
Yeah.
So not only have I put in the hours in class and stuff, but countless hours when I should have been on vacation.
Yeah, right. Well, that's all the Chinese herbs nerds will be giving a thumbs up to that.
On vacation studying herbs, my first wife was not happy about it.
Yeah, maybe not so great for your relationship, but good for Chinese medicine, good for your patients.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so maybe I can scrap my question about your transition to TCM, because most people have had that. And
I never did TCM. When I was in school, I already had this feeling, like the joke I always make is my colleagues would see patients in the student clinic and the patient would be like missing a left arm, and they would do like some horrible farm accident, they lost their left arm, and then my colleague or my fellow student, all I did was needle Li4 on the right hand, and then the left arm grew back. Like I felt like they were being able to do all these kind of miracles, and at TCM just never worked for me. It always sounded confusing. I could always help somebody on a case study on a piece of paper, but then when it got down to it in front of someone, I failed miserably, and it made me, well, I'm just going to talk like me, it made me feel like shit all the time. And so I didn't want to feel like that. And so that's why I turned my back on TCM really early on in my schooling, and devoted myself to classical medicine.
Yeah, right. That's cool. So there's obviously going to be people listening to this that are feeling the same way. And how could they go about discovering the classical system of, what if they are in second year TCM school? Like, or is there a way to not study TCM in the US where they can just do classical Chinese medicine?
There is. It's a bit more difficult, but you can definitely handle both modalities, right? You have two different hemispheres of your brain, so you can definitely entertain both ideas. But how you would get started in it is, I'm going to start teaching some of Arnaud's literature online, and then more importantly, all the didactical things will be in person, right? So as you know, the world's gone a little bit upside down and inside out recently, but I'm going to be offering some of the teachings online. So some of the more academic, in class things, but then the didactic, the more important hands-on, the pulse taking will be taught by Arnaud and our colleague David Tunin in Atlanta. So how would you get involved with this? I'm kind of open. I'm an open book. Just give me a call if you have any questions about canonical medicine or about how to get involved with it, because the more important thing, or the best way to get involved with it right now, is just to know that I'm going to start teaching it in late April. Some of my other colleagues in ICEAM, some of my fellow brothers and ICEAM fellows, Stephen Bonzak, is going to be teaching some of the courses as well. And we're going to be offering it in this hybrid form, right? Because the world is a bit of a unique place right now. So we're going to be offering it online. And then again, more importantly, we are going to do the in-person pulse taking and abdominal diagnosis.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I had Stephen came out to Australia a couple of times, and he was amazing. Every teacher I've had has been amazing. It's
yes,
we haven't had you come out to Australia yet.
I would love to come out to Australia. I absolutely, this is not the purview of this podcast, but I'm fascinated by all things Australia. One of my favorite bands is Tame Impala. I don't know if you...
Oh, you love Tame Impala? Lives in my state.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I live in Perth, and Kevin lives in Margaret River. He's got this big property down there. Yeah,
it's one of I love Tame Impala. So I'll come to Australia and do some medicine, and then go listen to Tame Impala.
Yeah, right. We'll try to hook you up with Kevin. I don't know him personally. But yeah, awesome. So what about people that are people that, give us a time frame roughly of how long it takes to learn the system for people that don't know. What are they kind of looking at in terms of time wise to kind of learn classical Chinese medicine?
So it's like a trick question, right? Because it's immediate, like the after you leave, but then it's also a lifetime, right? Yep. I'm trying not to be silly at 7 o'clock in the morning, but when you start studying classical medicine, you'll have actionable information that you can work with right then and there in clinic, right? The things that were clouding your vision will be unearthed, taken away within a matter of minutes. But then also the study of classical medicine is, I would say, and maybe I'm being a bit strong in my statement, but it's a lifetime, right? Yep. But the average listener wants to learn, what can it do for me right now? And I would say it's actionable right away, right? When you start to learn what Guizhou does, how it does it, in what context, it really opens up your mind. Or even just the Shanghanlun itself, breaking down things by confirmation. You have actionable information, and you can help people, save lives right now, right? Because that's how Zhang Zhongjing's, he wrote the Shanghanlun when all hell broke loose, right? When, 2/3 of his family died. And so, yeah, how long will it take you to learn the classical system? You'll learn it immediately, but then it's also, you're devoting yourself to a lifetime of study, I would say.
Yeah. And I think what's great about the ICIM program is like there are things there for people to keep on learning. There's lots of people in Chinese medicine that want to keep learning, but they're like, what do I do? Just go down to the bookshop and buy another book, go on to another course, get another program. And it's like you learn all this stuff ad hoc. And what I loved about it the most was it's like there's obviously a huge amount to learn, but there's like some kind of structure there for you to go, okay, well, if I want to do my self-study, I can, learn this more, I can learn that more, rather than it being, whimsical. And yeah.
What word you just said is the word that I am always looking for in my life, because the word structure. Yeah. Now, people who maybe don't know me, like my personal life can be unstructured, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know, I'm a little wacky sometimes, but my clinical life is the most structured thing in my life. And so that is exactly what this is. Gives you a framework, gives you a structure, and helps you become unconfused, if that's a word.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of clarity that comes to the concepts, and the more you invest the time into it, the better that gets, I think, for sure. Yeah.
And the thing I like about when I teach students at the school, and I'll never forget this student. We were doing this woman had some ribside pain, right? And I said, okay, we'll do this minus DATSAO plus MULI. And the student said, well, why are we going to take out DATSAO and add MULI? And Marie, I looked him dead in the face and I said, because Zheng Zhengjing said so.
Yeah.
And I jokingly said, okay, it's because DATSAO's sweet, MULI salty, and blah, 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 blah. But he gives Zheng Zhengjing, classical canonical medicine gives you a structure by which to study, by which to think, and by which to interact with patients. I just think it's great.
Yeah. So for people who are a bit new to this, they're not sure what we're talking about. The textbook of the Shanghanlun came from the Han Dynasty. So this is medicine that's been practiced in that same form all these years, like not changed all that time. So if there's ever a case for the tried, tested, and true, that is the canonical Chinese medicine ticks that
I have a picture of my daughter and I reading the Shanghanlun when she was like 1 year old, trying to get her started early.
Awesome. That's good for bedtime reading. It's you can make up little stories to her.
For sure.
Awesome. Great. So maybe you can just give us a little bit of information about maybe, like, I have people that ask me when I do live streams and stuff, well, what's the difference between this system of canonical Chinese medicine and other things that are out there? Like in Australia, we don't have a lot of other options, but I know in the US there are a lot of options for people to study. Like, so let's say they're second year Chinese medicine or third year or even finished, and they're thinking, I might want to do something else or specialize in a particular area, and I really want to study this. Why should they pick ICIM's training versus other? I'm not asking you to bag out other trainings, but just to give us a picture of what's the difference there.
I'll actually quote my teacher for a second first and say, any system will work if you stick to it.
Yeah.
Right. And I love this phrase because it's my biggest problem with, well, maybe I won't bag on TCM, but my biggest problem with TCM is that it's not a system, it's a system of systems. Right. And so whenever I talk to the students, I always say, sometimes I'll have students in class that have glasses on. And I'll say, do those glasses help you see? And they'll say, yeah, they really do. And I'll say, well, if one pair of glasses helps you see, let's put like a couple more pairs of glasses on, then you'll see better, right? And then they say, no. More glasses does not help you see better. What this system does is it gives you one set of glasses that's so fine-tuned and so able to see better that it helps you in clinic. And so why this system over any other system is because it's based the vision that you're going to see this through, the goggles, the glasses that you're going to see this through is the vision of the pulse.
Yep.
Right. So it gives you a diagnostic tool. That would be the reason why I would say this system over anything else, because it makes you less anxious in clinic. It makes you see the thing. It makes you see the patient in front of you clearer.
Yeah.
Right. This system takes away all those glasses and gives you one set so that you can see clear.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. It changed my life. I feel like it's almost like it's a lifestyle change after if you've ever done TCM before and you start learning it. Like I remember from the very first week, I went home and I was like, I've all these herbs, not these ones here, but all my granules. And I literally just went through all my herbs and threw away all my TCM herbs because I was like, I'm never going to use these again. Like I'll just sort everything out and it just made things a lot clearer for me as well. And then I was like forced to use it because, I was like, okay, here's a patient that last week I didn't know any of this stuff. And so you're exactly right. If you're already a herbalist and you start the program, you can use it straight away if you want to. I know other people who've invested more and more time before they've felt confident, I guess, to jump in and use it. But yeah, it's very clear, clarifying, and it does refine down all of these other things that are like part of Chinese medicine. But you're wondering how important is all of this information, and no one ever tells you that in TCM. It's just like, oh, just collect up all of this information. Like,
this is the opposite. This is the opposite. It's sort of like getting rid of a lot of extraneous information so that you can hyper focus and help. And again, in my experience, help people easier and better.
Yeah.
Awesome. What I thought of was cool is that, it's 8:00 where you live, 7 a.m. where I live. You're on the opposite side of the country, but you and I both have this knowledge of, like, if I say Guizhi Tong, the pulse, the symptoms, the dosages. We have this language that we speak between us, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think maybe people aren't aware of, but once you start the program, you can join up in a forum where you can connect with, like, I don't know how many people. There's probably at least 300 practitioners there that are committed to the course. Like Arnaud culls out the people that are not committed and only keeps the people who are committed to it right there.
So that's another thing. Why join this course? You have it's about 400 now. You have 400 people who are all like yourself. And I mean, we have people in Australia, United States, obviously, Europe. We have somebody in like South America and in Brazil, right? Yep. So we're slowly but surely all over the place. But you have the access to 400 people who can help you with cases.
Yeah, that was a really easy way for me to learn, but not just the cases I had at that time. I would just spend hours going through that forum and reading up other people's cases. Oh, what did they say? Why did they say modify this? Why did they do that? So there's just a wealth of like knowledge there, and also like you can refer people. Like I've referred tons of people to practitioners in countries where I'll never go. And that's great because then you feel confident this practitioner is going to look after this patient exactly as if I would look after them.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Yeah.
I find it hard pressed to actually refer to other people. I mean, I will, but you're absolutely right. I used to live in New York, and I don't live there anymore, but there's no ICEAM people there. And so now we have kind of one guy we refer to, but yeah, I'm with you 100%. Like as soon as you start doing this, as soon as you start seeing the good results, then you're like, well, why would I send someone, I shouldn't pick on Shai Hassan, but why would I send someone to someone else who's going to maybe write something that I wouldn't agree with or that I think is inferior? But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's I think it's good what you said about what Arnaud says about, anything you stick to, you'll get good at. And so there are people that are great at TCM because they just stick to it and they stick to certain things. But this is super structured in terms of like that refined way of like, it just whittles it down and you're less overwhelmed actually, because there's actually less to learn than in
what's funny? That's actually a great thing that you point out. It's less to learn, right? It's less herbs, right? It's like about 50 or 60, herbs. I mean, and then 314 formulas. Wow, that sounds like a lot. But if you know Guizhi Tong, you already know 60 formulas.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if you not to bore people, Guizhi Tong, Guizhi Jia Gagan Tong, Guizhi Jia Sha, Guizhi Jia Fu, the list goes on and on and on. Guizhi Chu Xia Yao Jia, you know, you as soon as you know the structure, then you know the whole, you can learn the whole system. Yeah, it's, when I was in TCM school, I always just felt like I was so good. This is going to sound funny. I always felt like I was a genius in the classroom. Like I could cure, I mean, I could cure AIDS in a case study. I could cure cancer on a case study. I could make people's left arms grow back on a case study. But then when I'm kidding, guys. But then when I got into clinic, I just failed.
Yep.
Over and over and over again. And, you know, arguably it was at the very beginning of my career, but it was demoralizing. And that, you know, that's the biggest thing that I feel like this system offers you too, is a place to lean on that has a lot of strength behind it, thousands of years of strength behind it. And so when my story is like, well, why did I start doing this in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? I love telling this story. I palpated a woman's abdomen in clinic, and I felt chief complaint was sleep disorders. Now, if you're a TCM person, you're probably already thinking, ooh, you know, Swanza Rentong or something like that. But so this woman was having sleep disorders, and I palpated her abdomen. I felt Guizhi in the abdomen. I felt Longu and Muli in the abdomen, and I was done. Patient comes in, chief complaint, touched the tummy, you know, palpated her abdomen, and was done in about 2 minutes and had some actionable information, and I knew exactly what to do. I actually got in the hallway and got on my knees and put my hands up in the air in this like really excited way, and the observer who was watching me was like, you know, who's this guy? I then went back to my supervisor and I said, hey, I want to do Guizhi Jia Longamuli Tong. Now at the time, my supervisor said, well, let's do Guizhi Gansao Longamuli Tong. Now, that supervisor was Stephen Bonzak, my big brother in ICEAM. At the time, I was pissed. I was like, you know, I had it, damn it. But actually, it's brilliant. Because at the time, I only knew a couple of Guizhi Longamuli formulas. But Guizhi Jia Longamuli Tong is a Jingui formula. Guizhi Gansao Longamuli is a Shanghan formula. Guizhi Jia Longamuli Tong has Baishao in it, right? So at the time, I was like pissed. I thought I had it. But by him even saying that little thing, that's even more like, you know, to talk about more refinement, right? I had it. You know, I had the Guizhi Longamuli formula. But then he said, no, let's not do Guizhi Jia Longamuli. Let's do Guizhi Gansao Longamuli. And that's the amount of refinement you get with the system, right? Your brain gets structured in such a way that you can then choose formulas based on what you feel, and with a degree of certainty that'll make you better and make your patients better.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Like, and it's TCM doesn't have that in the system. They just don't have that.
Maybe I'll share this other story. My father-in-law had a really bad toothache, like really bad. And he's kind of funny. He'll be like, he only knows one herb. He knows Longu. So he's always like, oh, everybody needs Longu. Everybody needs Longu. But so he had this really bad tooth pain and felt his pulse and had an abscess pulse. Now, maybe, you know, we don't need to go into what that is on this podcast, but gave him Taohe Chongqi Tong based on his pulse.
Yep. And
he did better. Like the pain was like 70% better. And he was doing better, but then it was just, it like wouldn't go away. And so he went and checked it out, and he did have an abscess, right? He had like, his tooth had been cracked. There was like a bunch of gunk in there. And so, you know, I think that we could have done herbs ultimately the entire way and done it, but he was just sort of like, you know, this is so painful. But that's how accurate the system is. I was able to diagnose the abscess from the pulse. Yeah. Right? I mean, now 70% better arguably isn't like 100% better, but it was, if like we were going in the right direction. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. And I think what's great about this system that if you don't have all of it correct, let's say when you're first starting, but you're in the right ballpark, then the system teaches you how to work out how you went wrong by what you've given them. Whereas in TCM, they don't have that. They're just like,
Well,
oh, the formula must not have worked because nothing happened, and you don't know why nothing happened or why they got worse. Whereas at least in this system, if you gave a formula and it didn't, let's say they got worse, if you're just not very good, right?
Yeah.
You will actually learn something from that. Whereas in TCM, it's harder to learn something from that.
That's such a great point. And something that I think is so amazing is like formula equivalency. Have you taken that seminar yet?
No, I haven't taken the seminar, but I know what you're talking about, the concept. Yeah.
Okay. So, when I teach, because I teach students at the Pacific College, and I teach formulas, but I also try to teach like clinical realities a little bit, And so I'll say like, well, if you give this formula and it doesn't work, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Like,
what's your next move? And what you're saying is, yeah, this system sets it up for like, if I give something and it doesn't work, I have either, let's say I gave Tao He Chung Shi Tong, that didn't work. I can give Da Hong Mudan Pi Tong or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at least it sets up in your mind where I can go next, or where I can, if the hot one doesn't work, maybe it was the cold one. If the excess one didn't work, maybe it's the deficiency one. And Zhang Jing sets that up, right? I think it's line 100. Lori knows these better than me, but I think it's line 100 when he says
the Xiao Hu Tong, the Xiao Zhuan Zong Tong line. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
right. He's telling you like that, like if he's giving you equivalency and he's telling you about like what to do next. Brilliant dude.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. And I teach TCM, right? In my college, right? And various courses and things like that over the years I've taught. But I don't know why I said that. I was going to say something. I had something in my mind that.
But I think it's tough being a TCM teacher.
Oh, it's heaps hard. I
really do.
Yeah, it is hard. Yeah. I don't teach it that often now, but like before I did the ICEAM course, I was teaching a lot. And I was just, I think I can't, it'll come back to me.
All right. Yeah. I was supervising in person before the world went upside down, and I really enjoyed that. And then they asked me to teach. And so I just did like one formulas class.
Yeah.
I enjoy teaching formulas, but I try to more, it's tough. It is tough to teach TCM because it has no structure in my, it has no, it's not a systematic approach.
Yeah. The college I teach at doesn't teach herbs. They just teach acupuncture. So it's kind of a little bit easier than it would be I've taught herbal classes before, like intros to herbs and stuff, and going back and teaching that in the context of having learned this stuff. You realize how hard it is. Like I remember teaching the students the TCM formulas. I'm thinking, shit, this is hard. Like I'm trying to find a method for them to remember it by, and I'm just thinking, it really isn't easy. Like it made me really value the ICAM stuff, thinking, mate, it's so valuable to be able to have this structure of like, okay, there's these principles. Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Like, in my teaching, a lot of students want to read the classical text, but they don't know how to. Like they think that that's what it's going to be as well, and they're kind of just brushed over, and they're pushed into the like academic journals and all that stuff, and that like so they basically go from like Giovanni's and whatever they're doing to journals, and whenever they write up their assignments, they might even put like a line from the Neijing, but they've used a reference from Giovanni. Like Giovanni's quoted the Neijing, and I'm just like, why don't you go back and actually read that original text yourself? You might learn something, right? But what's great about what I found great about ICAM was it gave you a way of being able to understand certain parts of the text rather than going, oh, here we go, I'm going to open this big text that I don't understand anything about.
Yeah.
And no context. And then I'm saying like a first year, second year TCM student or someone who's just interested, you're bamboozled by the first couple of lines because you don't have the hermeneutical kind of context of stuff. You don't understand, well, what were they really trying to say here? Like, and I love the way that Arnaud presents the information where it's applicable to everyday clinical stuff. It's not some theoretical concept that you can't understand, right?
Yeah, you reminded me of something Arnaud said too. Is like, well, first of all, you buy the Shanghanlun, it's like this thick, right? Mine's like this big, but then it's all commentary. The Shanghanlun is really like this big, right? So, but then it can be a bit daunting, and something like this program and this system is like your compass through the classics, right? So doing classes with ICEAM is going to kind of like give you a map, right, through the streets of the Taiyang, the boulevards of Yangming, the broadways of Shaoyang, the back alleys of Taiyin, the storefronts of Shaoyin, or whatever. It's really going to give you a map through it, and then the back seedy weird alleys of the Jingwei Yalwei, but yeah, it can be a bit daunting, but yeah, like this system is a compass, a map through how to navigate you through that, and by getting better at the pulse too, it helps navigate you through these alleys and back ways as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, this is super exciting. I'm so glad that you're starting a new what is it, a new branch of ICIM that you're heading up?
It's NYICEAM. I was living in New York, and then I've since moved away, but more of an East Coast angle on ICEAM. We have a stronghold in the Midwest. When I first moved out to New York and I was doing clinic, I would be with these students and talking about Gansao Sheishintang or Gansao Sheishintang pulses or something like that, and the students' eyes would get like, as big as like. I had a student once tell me, I've learned more in the last 5 minutes talking to you about pulse than I have in 3.5 years, right? And so I really noticed that there was a glut or a hole in the East Coast, and so we were doing it, and then the world kind of went upside down, and now it's more of a hybrid. But all the classes will be taught on East Coast time since I'm on the East Coast. But yeah, I'm excited about it too, because I've taught it before in Chicago, but only limited, only certain sections. Now I'll be responsible for a lot more. And teaching things also helps you understand them, but also it's an opportunity for me to connect with more people and share what I love. So, I'm excited about it too. I'm in Massachusetts right now. That's where I live. Awesome. And I would love to have some. I'm not here by myself, right? How many colleagues do you have that are close to you that you can call right now, or if you run out of wager, you can borrow some, or I don't have anybody. I'm out here all by myself, but I'm excited about it too.
Sure. Yeah, there's about 6 of us now. There was 9 people in Perth, in my little town, that were doing ICIM. There's about 5 that have finished it.
Cool.
Yeah. So we used to have a little study group, and we'd meet up. Just talk about cases and like try to help each other learn it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the things I loved about doing it is I met so many lovely people that were just different to the people I'd met ever before. And I guess in my journey of Chinese medicine, I was kind of like, I think I'd been doing TCM for like 12 years maybe, or something before that, maybe whatever, a fair bit of time. And I was kind of at the point where I was like, you know what, I could just kind of take this or leave this. Like I was getting involved in other business things, and it wasn't like Chinese medicine had that like, oh God, I really just love this. Like I used to love it. And then my teacher, I don't know if you know Wade James, but he was my teacher in Perth for TCM, and he'd done Arnaud's course ages ago when he'd done it in Australia.
I know Wade,
first. Yeah. And he was like, next time Arnaud comes to Australia, you've got to do it. And he's like, make sure you book in straight away because it'll all fill up. And, and he was so excited about it. And then when it like started, and what made me really realize that there must be a lot of value in it was, I thought if someone who's already done TCM for like 30 years is willing to change everything that they've done and sort of almost, to really embrace this system, you have to give away the TCM stuff. You can't do both, and you wouldn't want to do both. But
Yeah.
you don't sort of have two hats on and sometimes do this, sometimes do that. You either just make a decision and go, right, I'm just going to do this from now on. And I thought, wow, there must be something in it. And then from the very first week of studying it, I was just like, wow, I wish I'd done this back when I first studied Chinese medicine.
I think what you're saying, how do I put this, is a common theme, right?
Yeah.
When I started, I told you my story. I kind of turned my back on TCM early on, but in our first group, there was quite a few people who had been practicing 10, 12, 15. I think there was a guy who'd already been practicing 20 years, right? And so he dropped all of that. TCM is not a bad word. Dropped all of the TCM stuff and then did this. So yeah, absolutely, there is value in it. And but I think it works I have this question a lot from students, like, hey, I just started. I don't know anything about herbs. Should I take this course? Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been doing this, I've been doing this other thing for 20 years. Should I do this course? Yes. So in my opinion, if you have zero in your head, there's less to get out of the way. But then if you've been in clinic for 20 years, you have some insights into what works and what doesn't. So I do think that it works for both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the people I've seen do continue on in it, because obviously some people start it and they don't continue on for whatever, can be a number of reasons. But the people that generally don't push themselves to keep going to the seminars or do it or whatever, they don't actually let go of TCM. They just keep trying to keep doing it on the patients. And for me, I just had to stop. I just was like, no, this person had some weird TCM thing like long done share gun tongue or something last week. Well, now they're getting something else today. Like they're never having that ever again. Like I just had to say, even if that person's come back, and I have other colleagues who couldn't do that, and we kind of had this discussion, and he's like, oh, this person's come back, and I've given them shui fu ju tongue like for a year, and they just love this formula, and they just come and they want it again. And he's like, but how do I stop? How do I stop giving this out when it's so effective? I'm like, just stop giving it out. Just don't do it anymore.
So, what's funny what you just said? If you're giving someone a formula for a year, it's kind of not effective.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, ideally they should be moved on to a different formula or discharged.
I don't mean continuously given it, but you know how you get those people that call up and that, can I get a repeat of that? They love that one formula that they always repeat.
I like to tell patients, if a patient tells me they like the taste of the formula, I'm always like, oh, wrong formula.
They like the taste, you say?
Yeah, if they say they like the formula, I'm like, oh, it's the wrong formula.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't mean it by they like the taste, but you know how those people, they feel like it's doing something for them, and just I just need a refill.
But yeah, I mean, we definitely have patients like that. Yeah, if someone needs something else, you just tell them, like, based on my experience, you're ready for a different formula.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it comes back to the practitioner, what they decide to, how they decide to go. But yeah, I just noticed a pattern where the people that never let go of TCM didn't end up progressing to learn the course properly. Like they did half of it and they didn't continue it or finish it.
That's a scary place to be in. That Arnaud has this analogy that I love, that there's like in Antarctica, you're so far north that you're south or something like that. And so they'll leave on a helicopter from like South America, and then there becomes to go to Antarctica, right? And so there's this halfway mark where you can't go back, right? So if you forgot your coat, you're going to freeze your ass off, right? So there's this halfway mark where you kind of get to where you're committed. You have to land in Antarctica. When you are embarking on this new thing, it can be scary because you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you finish something halfway, that would be a scary place to be in, because then you're like, okay, well, I know about Shao Chai Tong, I know about minus dot Cao plus Mu Li, but also Shui Fu Zhu Yu Tong and Long Dong Shegan Tong, I like them. That would be a kind of a weird place to be in. I would just say, I try to make myself available to students and patients, maybe sometimes to my wife's dismay. But, if you want to do this, if you want to have good clinical results, if you want to be calm and confident in clinic, and I can't stress that enough. If a patient picks up that you're like guessing or not sure, they're not going to want to come see you again. But if you want to be calm, if you want to be confident in clinic, study the classics, study it with myself and Stephen and Arnaud and David, and learn it. And if you have any questions about it, if you're on the fence, if you're like, hey man, I do give Longdong Sheigantong and I rock Longdong Sheigantong, and don't you dare say anything bad about Longdong Sheigantong, give me a call, right? You know, my telephone, it's in the notes, but I'll give you the number. It's 773-344-1275. If I don't pick up right away, I'm with a patient or I'm chasing my daughter around. I think you edited out her screaming. Thank you. So if you have any questions about anything, you know, let's have a call, and maybe you're the right fit. Maybe you're not. Maybe this isn't for you. But we can talk about it. And if you want to go through with it and you want to study classics and you want to be more clinically confident and calm, then you call.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, awesome. So that's great. So if you are wanting to learn about studying Chinese medicine through this new program that's going to be opening up in New York, and it's a hybrid program where you can do some parts online and some parts in person, then you can contact Collin with all his details below, and we'll put his phone number below as well in case you didn't catch it just then when he said it. But I mean, look, I'm so passionate about this because this system of Chinese medicine is what Chinese medicine, well, to me, that's what I think Chinese medicine should be. It's like truly what it should be. And I just want more people to do it because it's good for the world. It's truly medicine that really helps people. And it also, as a practitioner and a person who like gets involved in Chinese medicine for a scholarly pursuit, it gives you a pathway of being able to study and colleagues that you can, you know, learn from, and, you know, people that, because that's one of the ways I learn is by being inspired by other people. And you don't necessarily even have to have that face to face. You can get that from the forum and that kind of stuff. And that's kept my enthusiasm up to keep learning it, right? And you just like, you're challenged by colleagues that you might bump into at a seminar, and they're like, I'm good friends with Hamish. I think you know Hamish. And he's
Hamish,
always like creating these verbal games. You know, do you know him?
Oh, Hamish and I talk on a routine basis about dietary stuff. He and I are both into like offal right now. So him and I text each other pictures of like liver and stuff.
Right. Yep.
But I hung out with Hamish before in the States. Before.
Yeah.
Hamish, Mark, JP, I know pretty well.
Yeah.
Probably those three guys are the guys I know well. Yeah, Hamish, JP, and Mark are the guys I know well.
Yeah. So it's good to have people like that you meet and you know them, and then they keep you accountable to learn the information, because you're like,
that's a good point, actually. You know, I'll receive text messages on a daily basis talking about cases. I have, my first wedding, my first wife, I invited, I've made friends in this that are lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. And, when I go see Tame and Paula, hopefully we can be friends too, because I seriously, Australia is a place I've always wanted to visit. Now, let's not get ourselves in too much trouble, but
look, things will open up again. I'm sure the world will open up. Will open up eventually. We can't keep our borders closed forever.
Yeah, knock on wood. Yeah, because we're supposed to see Tyler is supposed to teach in New Orleans in April, right? Oh, and Tyler's another guy I know too. Yeah,
I love Tyler. He's a great guy. Yeah. He just came on my podcast and we did a talk on seasons and seasonal, just for like lay people, like healthy seasonal stuff.
Oh, cool.
Like transitions and stuff like that. Yeah, so that was great.
Yeah,
and I just did an episode with Hamish actually talking about how to study Chinese medicine, because he's amazing at his system of how he's developed this system of studying to memorize. So yeah,
him and I have actually kind of I was out of work for a year because of the world. Well, yeah, I mean, New York, and New York, that's not fair to say. I was out of practice with a lot of competing variables. And
Yep.
so I was like, well, shit, I got to get back into this. And so I kind of pushed myself a little bit. And then recently have gone over a lot of I started over from scratch, like wagers, the wood class, I just like started over again. But yeah, Hamish is a good guy. He's an interesting guy for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. So if people want to contact you, all the details are below. Yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to say?
Xiao Yao San's not bad. Long Dong Shay Gong Tong is not bad. Xiao Chai Hu Tong is just better. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah. We're just shaming these formulas.
No, I'm doing that tongue in cheek.
Yes, we do. Yep.
I'm doing that tongue in cheek. I mean, actually, I take it back. Those actually, we use Long Don Sao, right? But very selectively, and I've never used it by itself, but we use it. Dr. Tien did, but that's for another story and another time.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your attention, for watching the channel. And we'll see you again on another episode soon. Thank you. Sorry, you said what?
I was going to say, the people listening to us now just missed all the good stuff. So now we can start.
They didn't really. They didn't.